bit of a theme. There's a slide that I had presented in H2O World New York that inspires some of the work ahead that you're going to see later in the next hour. We were raised in a tradition of mathematical music. Zero was invented in H2O in India, sorry, and every time we try to make H2O, people come back with H20, right? Zero follows us all the time. For years, our company, as founded, was 0x data, and people would make it OX data, and we'd be connecting them with zero. Now we keep correcting. I saw a few people today type in H2 aquarium.h20.ai. I think zero is so close to infinity, right? It's just one above and one below. And there's infinities everywhere. Infinities between spaces and infinities between points. Infinitesimal and the infinite. And I think one of the things we didn't realize as we were growing up is how music builds empathy. Music builds feeling. Music is the closest thing to feeling. Some of this concept we'll talk about tomorrow, but I think kind of privileged to introduce one of the interesting concepts of Indian music that pervades. In India, the music doesn't necessarily reside in the listener. It's also the dance, how you can connect it to your body, how can you embody the music. And that transforms, that transcends and transforms both on the outer as well as the inner. How do you connect yourself from being this possession mindset to a union mindset? How can I stop limiting myself to being an individual, to being universal? I think that those are the concepts that come to the fore, especially when you start looking at intelligence in inanimate things, such as AI. AI is beginning to transform not just machines. It's going to challenge and pose the question of what it means to being human. And why were we called human beings and not human bees? Right? The question around why are we a process? Being is a process. And how do we improve that process? How do we refine that process through both the knowledge of the universe and the knowledge of the self? And I think those are the concepts that have occurred to us on the journey, as we especially surrounded by the amazing love of the community. H2O is a function of the love of the community. We quite did not do tremendous amount of great marketing to bring you guys in throngs. We ended up following the core principles, which is the basics of doing the right thing and giving it, and hope it comes back in spades in millions of votes of wanting to be here. Towards that, I think it's quite humbling at once, and gratitude with which I want to present the same things that informed me in being authentic about this experience. One fine recent day, my daughter of 9, actually now 9, was 8, and she had the nightmare. She saw a tiger in her dream. It was in the bedroom. So she came running, Anjali. So then I started telling her how she can tame the tiger. And I really realized that was something you have to do as part of the journey. The tiger is in us, as well as around us. And I remembered, of course, that to make sure that we watch Life of Pi in a binge-watching session the next weekend. We watch a lot of Star Trek, but this time we said, let's do Life of Pi, where the little boy conquers his fears and really transforms himself to the hero and is able to take the boat across the oceans. It's really very spiritual and at once reflective of a lot of things we learned. The seven C's is a core theme of the Indian culture. And I was quite surprised. 2 weeks later, in my inbox landed Life of Pi as presented by a Bharatanatyam troupe. And that led us to go watch it. And Dianza, lo and behold, we were stunned at the level of mathematicalness inside that presentation. So, without making a long story around it, I thought that that would be a transformative experience we could bring to our community and see what they say and see if that experience also impacts them the way it transformed or impacted us. And that led to me sending a note to Ian. Before you know, we have Life of Pi emerging into a H2O World evening event. So I want to bring Priya on stage to thoroughly introduce Life of Pi as the next stage item as played by Bharatanatyam dancers, Ganesh Vasudevan. He choreographed it and created a large part of it. But I think there's a ton of teamwork behind him. We sincerely hope you'll enjoy a different evening in a conference. For us, work and life converge, not diverge. Or open source or closed source converge. There's a question someone asked, sparkling water, will it be available in driverless AI? Of course, because you asked for it, right? It's quantum physics. You've got to see the change you want to see and make happen. So towards that, I think the concepts of the spirit and the action, how to discover truth in action, love in action, as opposed to in separation. And that concept of universality is what gave us our chosen name, H2O. And we hope to live up to that name. And I'm quite excited and thrilled to see some of the folks in whose presence we named it H2O. So, welcome. Without further ado, let me have Priya introduce the troupe. I think there will be a little bit of setup that will happen while this is happening, but bear with our madness. This is it is going to be quite universal, and we are quite excited at the audience in attendance as much as the folks on stage. So thank you so much, and hope you had a fantastic first day.